Hey, what's up? My name is John Bonjour, and I'm a comic artist and film enthusiast. I've drawn some art, and I would like to enthuse about a comic book movie. Today we are talking about Thunderbolts, Marvel Studios' latest picture movie, the talkies. So Thunderbolts is the latest entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, directed by Jake Schreier, starring everybody. And this is a movie, it's very strange because I was not totally excited. I mean, I was excited about the movie, obviously. I'm a Marvel fan. I have liked to loved everything that Marvel has put out, except that last episode of Secret Invasion, but that's not the point. I've liked to loved everything that Marvel has put out, and this obviously was not an exception. I was excited about this movie, but it was weird on the day because most of the time I am more stoked about a movie. I'm more hyped about a Marvel movie coming out. And this one kind of snuck up on me. And I'll tell you what, if there was ever a movie to watch, if there was ever a Marvel movie specifically to watch when you're like, I'm just not sure about how the world's going, just not sure if I can be excited in times like these, this is absolutely the one. This is a surprisingly heartfelt movie. I was shocked at how genuine and careful it was. Not careful in the sense that it's cautious, but full of care. It's a movie about mental health, and while it is that, I think that it's important to note that the conversation on mental health is not revolutionary, it's not adding anything particularly new, but it is genuine, and I think that that is more important. I think honesty and kindness is more important than novelty. I'm gonna talk non-spoilers, then spoilers, and then a little bit of John's Theory Corner, you know how I do. So non-spoiler thoughts, if you haven't seen the movie, keep watching. Thunderbolts is great. Thunderbolts is so much fun. It's a shockingly entertaining movie. It feels like classic MCU in so many ways, most notably, I think, just that it feels like it's not trying to be anything else. It's not trying to tease anything else. It's not trying to get you to a certain place in the universe. It just is a movie set within these parameters, with these characters, to say this thing, to make this story, and I love that. Don't get me wrong, it's still a Marvel movie. It's still got all the connections that you love to see. I love that it has little hints toward Captain America, talking about the Red Hulk, and little things pointing toward the future. One relatively big thing, but we'll get into that in spoilers. This is a movie that has no other goal than to approach this story, where a perfect example of a counterpart to that, Captain America Brave New World, a movie that I liked, has a lot of other goals. It has so many other goals. It is trying to get us to a point where we know that Captain America, the people that didn't watch the show, know that Captain America is now Sam Wilson. It's trying to get you to a point where the world is in a little bit more turmoil. It's trying to just establish these characters where we need them to be for whatever they're going to be getting toward later. And that's mostly what it is. That's most of the movie, where this feels like a movie that was made to tell this particular story. And I love that. I will also mention that of the everybody that has been cast in this movie, they all really bring it. It is a phenomenally entertaining cast. They're so much fun together. They have great chemistry. Notably, I think the few people that really stood out to me, Lewis Pullman, absolute scene stealer across the board. Florence Pugh, no surprise, she is spectacular. She has a monologue in this that it genuinely made me cry. David Harbour is just the best. He's so much fun in this, and I do feel like they do a good job of adding depth to all of these characters, but especially him. He's felt a little bit more like a joke in other times that he's showed up, and I appreciate that this treats him a little bit more seriously while also appreciating his weird golden retriever side. Another huge point in the favor of this movie is just that it feels intentional. It feels like it was shot with art and thought in mind. There's a couple of shots really early on in an action sequence that could have felt really boring that ended up making it feel really dynamic and fun. It is a movie that feels thought through. It is a movie that feels cohesive. I don't think that this is a movie that was 6 other movies chopped together. We haven't had one of those from Marvel in a hot minute, and it's nice to see that when they're firing on all cylinders, they are firing on all cylinders still. Even down to just like some additional details that I'll probably get to in spoilers that didn't need to be there, but I'm glad that they were there because it shows you that the creators of this movie were making something intentionally. This, like I said before, and I'll say it again, and I'm not the first person to say this, no question, feels like early MCU. It feels like a movie made for the purpose of entertaining and telling a good story, and it just has the juice, man. Like, I'm just so excited about this movie because it has the sauce. I loved Thunderbolts, and I cannot recommend highly enough. If you haven't seen it, I really do recommend going to see it in theaters. This is, I don't know that I would say you have to see Captain America in theaters. Well, it's way too late now. I wouldn't have said you had to see Captain America in theaters. I think you really should see Thunderbolts in theaters. And that's kind of all I can say in non-spoiler thoughts. Which brings me to my spoiler thoughts, but before I get into that, I just want to say really quick, if you don't know, I have a podcast with my two closest friends in the world called the Motion Picture Retribution Power Hour. That's Motion Picture Retribution Power Hour, MPRPH. We make each other watch bad movies as a form of friendly punishment. It's an absolute blast, and I highly recommend checking that out. It's on Spotify, Apple Music, Apple Podcast. Why would it be on Apple Music? It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and I believe pretty much wherever you can get your podcasts, but definitely those two. So please go listen to it. Also, it's on YouTube, so you can hit that. So spoiler thoughts for Thunderbolts. Taskmaster's death will never not be funny to me. Mostly because at the end of Black Widow, there's this huge arc where Taskmaster has been an antagonist through the entire film, and they have this moment where they release her into the wild to go off and do whatever she's gonna do because she's had a really hard life. She doesn't deserve this. She can be something better. And then apparently everybody hated her so much that the next movie she shows up in, they're just like, anyway, dead, shoot her in the head. The funny thing to me, although that is also funny, the funniest thing to me about this death is that literally no one is sad about it. Not even Yelena, who has the most connection, the person who knew her. She's not sad about it. She's just like acknowledging that this is a human life that they've taken. And that is as far as the movie goes to be like, isn't that a good character? Isn't that an interesting character? Isn't that someone you should feel sad about? Like, it is so fast to forget that character even slightly existed. By the second that Taskmaster's body is not on screen, we have forgotten, they have forgotten, the world has forgotten that Taskmaster literally ever existed. Other spoiler thoughts, Sentry rules, and I'm so proud of them for not telling us who he is. I'm so proud of them for not showing us Sentry in the trailers like they showed us Red Hulk in the Captain America trailers. This is how you don't spoil stuff, Marvel. Now, to be fair, the trailer still shows a little too much, but that is okay. That is, I respect it. I understand. At least you kept things as a surprise, and I appreciate that. Sentry looks perfect, and by perfect, I do mean, in this case, a little bit homogenized and just a little bit scrappy in a way that feels like a company would have built this suit for him. I'm sure he'll get a suit upgrade later, but I like that this suit feels like someone in universe saw Vision, Thor, I don't know, maybe Mysterio, and went, I could probably build something like that. I like that that's the vibe that this is giving off. It feels derivative, and I think that's very intentional. It's supposed to be this corporatized suit for this corporate superhero, and I think that's very fun. Just across the board, though, Sentry is one of my favorite elements of this movie. Louis Pullman, as I said before, he operates so well as Bob, as Sentry, and as the Void, which you have to find somebody really specific to pull all of those off. I feel like Bob is my favorite iteration of that character, which I really thought from the trailers that he was going to be kind of annoying. He is so funny. He's such a just a blast in all of these tense moments in these character dynamics. He's just kind of hanging out on the sidelines, giggling to himself. Sentry, he plays fantastically. He really brings that kind of almost godly air to it. He brings that feeling of like, I am all powerful. Why do I need to do anything anyone says, especially you, Contessa Valentina de Fontaine? And like I said, as the Void, he is genuinely haunting. And part of that really is the visual effects, which are beautiful in this movie. The way that he's like exploding people into shadows is so cool. Just overall, it's a very cool character, and I think they brought him to the screen really well in a way that I'm extremely happy about and feels like an actual adaptation of the character. It doesn't feel like they were just trying to go exact one-for-one comics, but they're bringing in things that are important. That memory loss, the Void, the Sentry, all of these things that kind of make this character what he is. And I think they're gearing him towards something that I'll get to in my theory corner. Just a quick note on spoilers. Killing the kid, or at least making us think that they've killed the kid, is some Assault on Precinct 13 shit, and I respect it. It got me. I did not see that one coming, and it hit real hard. The thing that I was talking about earlier with little things that show how intentional this movie is, the maze of memories, the maze of trauma, or whatever we're calling it. A, great callback to the little hamster in the maze. B, just more complicated than it needed to be. I love the use of gravity falling through things, the idea that she's in this like soundstage, she runs up against the wall. Like, we've seen movies where people go into this other ethereal dimension or plane of existence or whatever you want to call it, and they go through a memory and then they get out of the memory, they process whatever trauma. Like, I don't know, Mr. Negative from the Spider-Man games. Like those, not that that's not good, but that is a clear, simple version of what this is. And it could have been simpler, it could have been less complicated, it could have been less interesting, and it really wasn't. New Mutants. New Mutants is the ideal example of a version of this that's significantly less interesting, and this is just the cooler version of what they were trying to do in New Mutants. It just shows intentionality and how much they were thinking through all of these things, and I appreciate that. Also, like I said, I love the little callbacks to Captain America, having the Red Hulk be mentioned. I have to assume at this point that Daredevil is post Thunderbolts because A, I feel like Wilson Fisk would have talked about that, and B, I feel like we would have talked about Wilson Fisk, so it must be out of order in that way. Probably just the way things go. I assume Daredevil was supposed to come out significantly before this and kind of wrap up that arc, but either way, let's just assume Daredevil happens after this because I can't imagine that New York is the same one where all of the like Wilson Fisk anti-masked people propaganda thing is happening. That said, there is a moment where Valentina's assistant calls Bucky to say, hey, we need you, like Sentry is going bad, this is gonna be a big bad thing, get everybody you can. And it's like, I don't want to be this guy because I hate these people, but also you would have called Captain America, right? You know you have to call Captain America. You literally just saw him like a month ago. Go talk to him, at least see if he can make it. I don't know. Again, I don't want to be this guy because that's a stupid way to look at movies. It's a dumb way to look at these things, but that was a glaring moment where I was like, okay, this is one of those things where probably Captain America should have been there. And then my last spoiler thought is, boys, Fantastic Four are here. They're in this universe, which is a really interesting decision to reveal that now. I kind of thought that was going to be the twist ending of the Fantastic Four, was that they go to this universe. I love it. I love it. And it was such a great reveal having the ship show up, where if you've watched the Fantastic Four trailers as harshly as I have, as aggressively as I have, then you know that ship instantly off the bat. You're like, that's a Fantastic Four ship. But if you haven't watched that much, then you're like, oh, what's going on here? And then that turn, reveal the Four logo, play the theme. It's just beautiful. Fantastic Four is my most anticipated movie of the year. I cannot wait for that movie. And this just absolutely brought that even higher. This is what it should be. This is what I was talking about. This is an MCU movie that's got the juice. You can just feel it, and I love it. I love it so much. This is just it snuck up on me. It took me by surprise. This is such a fun movie. A couple of theory things that I'm going to talk about real quick. It seems like we're headed toward a split division New Avengers and Avengers team, which I think is interesting. There's a little bit of me that kind of feels like they're trying to set up the broken team from Civil War to Endgame or Infinity War. That doesn't feel like it's going to pay off because Cap and Bucky were like literally just friends. So I don't know. That doesn't feel quite right to me, but you never know. I don't know. It might work out. It also is like, they've always had a little bit of a tumultuous relationship. So Bucky kind of pulling this stunt makes sense that he would be a little mad about it. I could see that being just a conflict of two opinions. And I think that there's a way they could make that work. It just depends. It does feel crazy that the next movie is Fantastic Four, and then I'm pretty sure the one after that is Doomsday, which is like, don't get me wrong, I'm very excited about that movie, but that feels like we've got a little bit more we need to be doing to get to that point. Maybe I'll feel completely differently after Fantastic Four. That is entirely possible. But it does feel like we've kind of ramped up the speed in a direction that I wasn't prepared for, so we'll see how that goes. Additionally, quick Fantastic Four theory, I wonder if Galactus is a multiversal villain. I wonder if he's a guy that's going around multiverses, eating worlds, eating multiverses, however you want to look at that. Because that is the only thing that kind of makes sense. Maybe Reed is looking for the multiverse to try to warn other people. Maybe he's looking for the multiverse just to try to experiment with it, and then he calls in Galactus. It's also possible that he's looking for the multiverse, finds Galactus, also breaks the multiverse. That's entirely possible. But it feels to me like that's what that is. It feels to me like Galactus might be a multiversal villain that is then going to come for the Earth, which is then going to have the Fantastic Four come and try to warn them of what's going on. Anyway, that's all my thoughts on Thunderbolts. I absolutely love this movie. Oh, and they're New Avengers. I think that's a fun thing. I thought they might be Dark Avengers, but the asterisk is for New Avengers. I think that's wonderful. That's such a great little, it's so good. And I like that we're setting up who the Avengers are now. I loved Thunderbolts. I cannot wait to watch it again, and I can't wait to see where we go from here. Let's get to July, baby. Thanks so much for watching this video and checking out my channel. If you'd like to hear more of my thoughts on movies, comics, TV shows, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and comment down below what you'd like me to review next, or do none of those things because I am not your dad.